Good morning. Very happy to kick 2026 off with with our first webinar of this series, uh, and we are very happy to have Emily join us. So, as we kind of prepare for the upcoming tax season, the benchmark for collections efficiency is shifting. Tax season, as everyone in the panel probably knows, is starts at Super Bowl and goes on till April 15th. So it is really like the highlight of the what credit collections looks like. And moving from a purely operational call center, call floor kind of experience to a truly omni-channel one requires a great deal of like thoughtfulness, a great deal of initiative, and that is exactly what we are here today to discuss. I am joined today for this fireside chat with Emily Yan from Prosper. Emily is the master architect who doesn't just know how to build a house, but also understands the psychology of the people living in it, the aesthetics of it, and so on and so forth. So Emily brings 25 years of experience bridging the gap between marketing, analytics, and operational excellence execution within financial services and financial sectors. She is currently the VP and head of connections and recoveries at Prosper Marketplace. But she also, as part of it, leads enterprise wide initiatives to drive credit performance and operational efficiencies. Even more interestingly, before joining Prosper, Emily spent almost 20 plus years at Discover in various senior leadership positions. And she led the Lighthouse Initiative, which leveraged AI and ML to reduce analytics cycle time by over 60%. So, Emily, your background, especially as we think about as collection moves to omni-channel, your background with like marketing is even more relevant, I take it. But welcome and thanks for joining us for our first webinar of 2026.
Thanks, Shantanu, for the kind introduction. I'm very excited to be here and share some of the lessons that I've learned over the years. Yeah.
We always like to start these by really understanding like the journey before we even get to the topic. Like, what was the what all did the universe need to conspire so that you are in the current role right now? How did you get into the industry? What were some of the key inflection moments that led you to this role? Obviously, you spent like 2 decades at Discover and also Upstart in between. So I would love to learn some of that backstory and then the personal journey that went into it.
Yeah, sure, Shantanu. I think, as you mentioned, actually, I spent much of my career at Discover, which now part of Capital One. I spent 21 years there. I started my career in marketing analytics. Strategy, spent a decade understanding the voice of the customer, really that actually had a heavy influence on the way that I think about analytic and strategy that needs to be super kind of customer centric. Over time, I got involved in operation, and then later on, I transitioned into collection. So the way that I think about collection is always kind of similar to the marketing strategy. It's a question of how you connect with the customer, and then what kind of offer or treatment do you provide to the customer once you make that connection? Yeah. If I reflect back my career, I think I kind of go through from the marketing operation and the collection. I think whatever I have learned in marketing and operation, I think is having a pretty profound impact in terms of the way that I think about collection. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of rolling back the clock a little bit. Obviously, when we think about omni-channel, we think about email, digital, web, kind of ads and stuff like that. Prosper, if like back in 2009, was probably like amongst the first people to start even acquiring customers through Facebook ads and such back in the day. But what was your first experience with omni-channel outreach to consumers, either at Discover or elsewhere? Uh, what was like
Yeah.
before that? People obviously used to like stuff letters in email. Like, how's how was that? Like, what year was it? What did that look like? Even if it is on the origination side of the house.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I just mentioned collection as a kind of a two-step process, I always think about how you connect with the customer and then what you offer to the customer. I think traditionally, I think the collection has been more like a kind of voice channel,
Mhm.
doing more outbound phone calls. But over time, I think it's becoming more and more importantly to kind of diversify the way that we connect with the customer. So one of the kind of the first steps that I took to build out the omnichannel contact strategy was building additional contact channels beyond the traditional voice channel.
Okay.
Uh, for example, setting up the email, SMS, those contact channels are relatively easy and quick to deploy.
Yeah.
And then you quickly then demonstrated immediate benefits to the business and the customer. And that helped really kind of build the business case around building additional digital channels beyond SMS, even push notification, and more web functionality to kind of diversify kind of the overall
Interesting.
kind of contact toolbox that you can use to reach out to the customer.
So push notification, I think that's a very unique one. In the classical, like in the third party or even the first party or even internal collections, I think that is probably not something many folks look at. But we have about like 100 people in the audience, and at least like half of them are lenders. Let's talk about push notification, especially if as it relates to uh, collections, and because that is obviously very unique, very cutting edge. um, there is the consumer side of it which can feel intrusive even, but I'm just curious, like what's been your experience, what are ways in which it can work out for obviously the lender but also for the consumer? How do you kind of make it all work together, uh,
Yeah.
especially if something is greater than one day past due?
Right. I think when I think about the delinquent customers' engagement behavior, over year, what I'm seeing is increasing adoption of the mobile app. If you design the right app, actually for your product, I think you can attract more customer to your mobile app rather than the big browser. So definitely, I think push notification, if we can use that more smartly, it can complement the other contact channels, email and SMS, which continue to be highly effective in connecting with the customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's super cool. So, starting from scratch, what are the first pieces that must fall into place for, like, how do you get the right data? How do you get the right contact strategy uh, in order to go from
Yeah.
being a voice only to a digital first kind of uh, omni-channel outreach?
Yeah, sure. I think first of all, kind of building out these additional channels, I think will kind of the first few steps that we set out to prove initial success. Um, but what took longer to get right is always kind of the channel orchestration,
Hmm.
uh, which means who do you contact, what channel do you contact, and the timing of the contact and the frequency of the contact, the sequence and frequency of the contact.
Yeah.
I think that took longer to get right. I think that's a very iterative approach. It requires a lot of kind of test and learns. And I think it's important also to provide self-serve capabilities so your customers can self-serve um, digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gets us to like, how do you even do the data capture? A lot of the lenders don't even get uh,
Mhm.
digital contact points, like be it consent to email, consent to text, on the phone number. You might get a phone number, you don't know if it's can receive a text or not. How do you kind of think about all of those in conjunction with each
Yeah.
other?
I think there are different ways to approach that. So ultimately, I think the content strategy should be data driven. A data driven approach can be a model driven approach, or can be a bunch of business rules that you use based on what you have identified based on customers' past interaction behavior. So one approach that we took was there was a segmentation approach. You classify customers based on their past interaction behavior, whether the customer is more responsive to the web channel, or more responsive to click and open your email, or more responsive to the phone channel. Some people just want to call and talk to an agent. So we can classify the customer based on their past interaction behavior.
Mhm.
So you can launch email and SMS and channel specific tests. And once you gather enough data, you can develop some predictive model to predict the likelihood of customers' response to each specific channel. And then we can rank order kind of customers' response to each channel, and then you can develop your content strategy that way. Yeah.
I want to talk about the one thing that you kind of mentioned and brought up, which is uh, the value at risk framework, and how you think about the two dimensions of the value at risk framework. How
Mhm.
to go about it. So, would love to learn from you if you could explain how do you think about it. What is the value at risk framework? What is the best way for for anyone to really like start using it?
Mhm. Yeah, sure. Um, I think segmentation is very foundational in the end-to-end kind of consumer lending life cycle. Um,
Mhm.
and a good segmentation kind of will group customers in a way that will enable very tailored customer engagement strategy. In
Mhm.
collections, it's also super important to get the right segmentation framework. I
Mhm.
think traditionally, business classify customers into early, mid, and late stage. For example, it's very typical for credit card business. Cycle 1 and 2, early stage; 4, mid stage; 5 plus, or late stage, which works fine, I think, for decade and decade. I think over time, I have had the opportunity to redefine that segmentation based on what we call a value at risk framework, which essentially combine the probability of charge off and balance with account balance. This framework will allow us to kind of focus our resources where both risk and the impact, which measured by account balance, are the highest, so that we can kind of tailor our collection strategy based on the high, medium, low value at risk early in the customer's delinquency life cycle, early stage, so that we can design a more effective end-to-end treatment and contact strategy by each segment.
Sorry, there are two axes. One of it is the delinquency axis, and then the other is the value, which is the dollar amount axis. Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are each of the different actions you do in each of the 9 sets?
Yeah, I think so. The beauty of the VAR segmentation is, I think, is really how you treat high. Kind of one important aspect of that segmentation is how you treat the high value at risk customers with high propensity to charge off and high balance,
Mhm.
which account for roughly, if the model is done kind of done right, it can capture over 70% of your losses 6 months later. So that's why that's about 20 to 30% of your early stage accounts. If you can just concentrate your contact and treatment efforts on the high risk segment by designing the right contact strategy, increase your contact intensity, and try to get hold of, connect with as many customers as you can within that high value risk segment, and then provide uh, kind of more aggressively the different offers you have, whether it's a short-term hardship, long-term hardship, whether it's a workout, even settlement, just to provide more aggressive treatment
Yeah.
to help resolve the account or in the delinquency cycle. I think I find that super helpful versus the low value at risk customer, which is low propensity to charge off and also lower balance.
Yeah.
And we should use like in terms of the contact strategy, help them self-cure and contact them through email, SMS first, and
Yeah.
then delay your contact and allow them to self-cure. Yeah.
And within, I mean, there are the multiple channels, right? There is the self cure. Is when you say self cure, do you mean just the portal and the website, or how do you think about
I,
a
when
harmony or
I
a orchestra between an email outreach, a text message, as well as obviously the portal's impact, and maybe like something like push notification?
Yeah, the self-cure, I mean, I think lots of them are sloppy payer. I think we still need to kind of remind them, hey, you missed your payment, make sure you make a payment. But self-cure, I mean, we don't need to provide them a loss of treatment like what we do with a high-risk customer, that the most likely they don't need lots of programs, whether short-term or long-term, because if you offer them any program, you are giving up revenue without getting enough loss benefit because they have very low propensity to charge off.
Then what specific KPIs do you focus on to gauge the effectiveness of an omni-channel strategy versus a more like traditional recovery rates?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ultimately, I think in collection, what matters most is the charge-off losses, right? So, but it is really a lagging indicator for many initiatives.
Yeah,
And especially when
exactly.
you have initiative in early stage, it is typically takes months or even more than half a year to see the full impact on charge-off losses. Uh, so that's why I think I tend to focus on like leading indicators that have a direct correlation with losses, delinquency, and roll rate. Uh,
Hmm.
for contact strategy, for example, if you launch a email SMS, I think I tend to focus on the click-through rate and conversion rate. If
Yeah,
you see a lift uh, in those leading indicators, you are more likely to see kind of a higher payment rate or enrollment in a payment program. Um,
yeah,
and then that will naturally lead to lower roll rates. And the roll rate typically will continue through the charge-off out
yeah.
down the road.
But then how do you compare and contrast like whether something is working on a voice channel versus something is working on a digital channel?
Mhm.
Like what is the voice equivalent of it, or saying that, hey, my outbound voice RPCs have are now currently, let's say, at X% versus my open rates and click rates are at A and B%. How do you compare apples and oranges in that scenario?
Yeah, I think as long as typically, I think for each channel, um,
Yeah.
I think we have when we launch any experiment or launch any new initiative, we usually have a A/B test. For email channel, for example, we have a small control group that we can use to determine the effectiveness of that channel specifically, and compare people with email without email. And you can basically do the same task across any channel or maybe as a holistic strategy as a whole. Uh,
Hmm.
and ultimately, I think what's also important is to kind of come up with a metric that assess holistic engagement progress. Um, what I call that a omnichannel right party contact rate
Hmm.
that looks at all the successful contact across all the digital channels, voice channels, and so that we can measure the effectiveness of the omni-channel contact strategy in a single view.
Yeah.
So try to
Uh,
maximize that kind of omni-channel contact rate. I think,
yeah.
yeah. So what we can do is also
Mhm.
measure kind of year-over-year improvement. If this year your omni-channel contact rate is 20%, And next year, how can we get to 25, 30%? So I think it's one of the most important kind of KPIs in
Yeah.
omnichannel kind of collection. Yeah.
And then that kind of gets us to a very interesting point because like the best, let's say, vendor to improve like your email outreach, the best way to improve your text outreach might be a different vendor. And obviously your phone strategy is your internal team that has obviously been in some ways built in house, or a lender like Prosper might have like a bunch of agencies that obviously they work who work for Prosper. So now you kind of have like 4 or 5 different actors, some software technology providers, some obviously people providers. How do you get all of this to compare together? So again, like you already have two slightly different set of metrics.
Mhm.
So there's already a bit of apples and oranges, but you can still kind of think of an omni-channel score or a digital reach score. But then if this data is already split across like 3 or 4 vendors, uh, yeah, what do you do in that scenario?
Yeah, I think we try to kind of optimize everything we do. If we do work with different vendors, and we try to optimize the performance within kind of each area. But I think
Hmm.
holistically, I think if your individual component is effective, it all would be reflected in your overall portfolio performance. So so I think what we do is that we measure the effectiveness of each individual strategy and each technology or component, but then also
Hmm.
monitor kind of the effect on the overall portfolio trend. Because you
Yeah,
have a kind of a roll rate target we try to hit every month, and loss target we try to maintain hit each month and each year.
got it. And then with respect to doing a bunch of these initiatives, either improving your email deliverability, improving click rates on a text message, or obviously like getting deeper penetration on the phones, how do you decide between like building something in house versus going with a vendor? There are there are pros of going in house. You control everything. There is a lot of business context that is continued. Uh, Getting something off the shelf is something available off the shelf on day one. How do you kind of make those trade-offs, and what are things that other people should think about when doing so?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's really kind of situational. I think depending
Hmm.
on the situation or business problem that we try to solve for. Uh,
Hmm.
I think um, we tend to think that we can build everything, but
Yeah.
sometimes that it might be a better idea to kind of partner with the external vendor. Um, I think so. I think the buy versus build kind of um, decision, I think, is a cross-functional kind of collaboration by discussing with the internal product engineering team and finance and vendor procurement team. Um, it's very situational. Yeah.
Yeah. what are what are things that have worked really well when you built it in house versus, and then what are things that have worked really well working with vendors?
Yeah, I think what worked well, um, I think is we can start with kind of a small pilot, because we don't have to kind of build everything overnight. I think it can be a
Hmm.
reiterative approach. Uh, so, for example, I give you like maybe like a self-serve digital self-serve capability as an example. We have the option to
Hmm.
hardship programs by working with vendors, or we can also build our own kind of mobile app and web function to kind of build our hardship program, additional payment options on our website, attract our customers to self-serve digitally.
Yeah.
we can start with a small
Yeah.
kind of payment program, a simple short-term hardship program, and make it available through their mobile app, through the big browser when they log into their account. Um, and that should be relatively quick to deploy. And once we learn from that, I think that can
Mhm.
help us determine whether this is something we can continue to scale internally, or do we need to evaluate an external vendor that we can partner
Okay.
with. Yeah.
So you're saying that the pilot programs are the pilot programs that you ran internally had a lot of success, and it's versus you can kind of design the whole pilot a little better if you control it internally. While obviously in some ways, if you buy something off the shelf, you're also working with their setup of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are ways in which like external vendors, external uh, solutions have been like true expert partners for you and Prosper either here or at Discover, and what is it that worked well for them there?
Yeah, I think we I think there are we have lots of kind of in collection. We work with lots of first party, third party kind of collection agencies, depending
Yeah.
on the customer segment. We have a lots of partners, vendors that we partner with. In recovery, we do debt sale. We work with a group of buyers that we have established a good relationship with. So we continue to
Hmm.
evaluate what potential kind of new partners.
Yeah.
And we also partner with Particle, your company. I know the speech
Yeah.
analytics tool that we've been using, I think, has proved to be extremely helpful. So it's a very powerful tool that we've been using to help us understand kind of the voice of the
Yeah.
customer, and and uh, help us uncover kind of some the source of friction or confusion from the customer. Really help us to drive continuous improvement across customer communication, agent training, back office processes, or even um, uncover new kind of capabilities that we need to develop.
Yeah. No, we're very excited about working with you as well. In fact, the way I think about it, classical speech analytics or now more like AI led uh, voice conversational AI is actually like a great bridge between voice and telephony was historically like a largely analog channel, right? And you had it was very much a black box. On the other hand, like emails and text messages are considered digital. No one considers voice digital. But with the kind of AI that we do with you guys and with Pro Insight specifically, I find it like fascinating because it actually allows you to turn something that's like fairly analog and even like a 150-year-old technology in some ways,
Mhm.
but it gives you the benefits of a digital outreach, and it does in some ways give the same level of finesse that you have with email and texting and even website activity.
Mhm.
So I find some of that very fascinating as well. And when we think about uh, voice as a different bucket from digital, I kind of like to remind people that actually voice isn't as analog as it used to be. Voice is fast becoming a very, very digital medium as well. Uh,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the voice AI, the voice agents is becoming kind of I think lots of companies are kind of experimenting in that space. I think I really
Yeah.
look forward to kind of that technology continue to advance. Um, it's actually evolving very rapidly,
Yeah.
which is a very exciting area to transform kind of the collection business, I think, in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very excited. Are there things that you have seen work with us and your use of Prodigal or any other vendor that has been good and helped you think about omnichannel outreach for your work at Prosper?
Yeah, I think I'm very optimistic about some of the uh, emerging AI companies kind of in the future. I think that's really kind of will transform the way that we do collection, although I think it's still in the early stage when I think about
Yeah,
how AI
yeah,
can change the industry. Um,
yeah,
I think in the near future is probably still kind of focus on automating kind of some of the workflows and a more like a cost reduction or efficiency play.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I think to get the true value out of the new technology, I think we need the tool to be able to handle more complex situations, be more intelligent in terms of decisioning. Um,
yeah.
I think a true North Star in my mind is really kind of the next best action, real
Next attack.
real
Yeah,
time decisioning. The AI can be smart enough to help coordinate at any given point, kind of
yeah,
for each customer, what's the best channel to contact, what's the best offer should be provided to the customer, and what the messaging should
yeah,
look like, what the feedback loop should look like to help guide the next best decision. Yeah.
yeah. We have a very interesting question from the audience, which is over the last year or so, what changes in borrower behavior have surprised you the most? Uh, and how has that shift affected your operations day to day? And it could be something like super strategic, or it could be something very narrow as well, but just like something that took you by surprise.
Yeah, I would say, um, I don't think anything has kind of caught me by surprise from a consumer kind of, especially delinquent borrowers, their engagement. I think fundamentally, I think everything, the trend over the last few years has been fairly consistent, which is that customers are becoming more and more responsive to digital channels, which is the email,
Yeah.
SMS, and then the engagement through the mobile app and the account center through the big browser. It's also pretty decent, actually. But
Okay. Yeah.
thing what's really declining is actually the phone. The outbound RPC
Phone.
is declining kind of pretty kind of substantially year over year. It's just getting harder and harder to get a right party contact through the phone, um,
Yeah.
especially for late stage. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
matter how you do, I think the right time to call, the right number to contact, that's not working.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you think, I mean, in some ways, does AI accelerate the trend because just everyone gets so many, even more number of unknown callers calling in? And that just makes it worse for everyone? Does AI accelerate the steady decline of RPCs, or does AI actually make it the other way around, where AI and maybe the consumer has an AI as well, they actually are better and increase relevance? So instead of in the early days of the internet, all ads were equally bad, but then over time, actually, people started finding ads less of a nuisance even.
Mhm. Yeah,
Do you think that would happen, or do you think AI is kind of put the, in some ways, the nail in the coffin for RPC outbound?
I think I think for AI to be I think of the use of AI, I think is very broad. I think across not just within the financial industry. I do believe that in the long term, uh, general
Yeah.
consumers, the delinquent customers will become more and more kind of familiar with the different AI tools, um,
Uh-huh.
and become more comfortable of using kind of voice AI or AI driven kind of applications. But I think that can happen eventually, but it won't happen kind of immediately within the collection area. I still,
Immediately, yeah.
if we build the right digital capability, the content strategy in conjunction with the ability to self-serve in a very clear, intuitive fashion, I think that can that can add lots of value to collection itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that even change, like through something like tax season versus a lean season? Like holidays end up being a little quieter for collection companies. How does the how does it change between uh,
I think,
this?
yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
collection strategy will change based on the different seasonality. I think I tend to think collection in recession every day because I think
yeah,
about is the incremental value any collection strategy that you deploy can be unlocked at any given time, whether it's a tax season, a holiday season, back to school season. What we are trying to do is to drive that continuous strategy optimization um, to deliver more value for the business and also for the customer.
yeah. Makes sense. Uh, have you? What are your thoughts on like emerging channels like SMS? Sorry, MMS, RCS, rich text as a as either an augmentation for the current texting outreach or maybe just like outright replacement. Like maybe something like RCS is a has the best of both worlds of a text and an email. It lands where a text lands, and it is as expressive as an email or almost there. How do you like? Have you had thoughts on that? Is it working in a certain part of the life cycle?
Yeah, definitely. I have had some opportunity to kind of learn more about uh the kind of the MMS and some of the new advancement in the kind of SMS space. Uh,
Yeah.
Personally, I haven't been able to test those out, but actually, those are kind of in my roadmap. I
Okay.
want to explore in the near future. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That makes a lot of
definitely,
sense.
I think sounds very exciting to me. Um,
Yeah. So we've actually been seeing a lot of success with MMS already.
oh, really?
Um, even even in collections, RCS isn't as widespread.
Mhm.
I don't know to doing rich text
Okay.
in even internal operations or like early stage collections. But MMS is actually doing working really well for us. And when I say for us, I mean for our customers
Mhm.
that where we submitted it. And it is again, will it sustain or will it also get crowded out and then it become a little bit of a race to the bottom? Hard to say just yet. It's still very early innings. However, very promising. That being said, as with any powerful tool, the more powerful the tool, I think you need to be a little bit that much more advanced at handling it. So we've also seen uh, ill designed or like not completely thought through attempts at doing MMS backfire pretty spectacularly.
That's great to
And
know.
so to that
Yeah.
extent, that's how we think about uh, like text and email in some ways are the most vanilla digital outreach. MMS RCS is more so. AI is an even more powerful come
Yeah.
uh, both powerful if done right, but also can backfire spectacularly if not done right. Thing.
That's great to know, Shantanu. I think um, what we are using is still the short code, long code SMS, which is quite limited in terms of
Yeah,
the content you can share in the messaging. So I'm very excited to hear that you are having some success with your customers. So I'm definitely
yeah,
going to follow up with you to learn more. Yeah.
yeah. Lastly, one of the things um, people believe is like, hey, voice again because it's analog still retains a lot more of the human component. It is synchronous. You're talking to some person at the same time. They're available. They're giving you their attention. while digital ends up being impersonal. And this is even before AI is thrown into the mix. Digital is just a little bit more impersonal. Uh, how do you balance the human touch, especially when someone is distressed or in hardship to begin with? How do you balance the both the benefit as well as the need for a human touch that uh, people criticize digital for not providing?
Yeah, sure. I think our approach has been we kind of really maximize our digital kind of contact as much, drive as many customers to the digital channel to self-serve as much as possible,
Hmm.
which is actually quite effective. We see over 70% of our customer making a payment or, in a program digitally versus talking to an agent through the agent channel. I'm sure that's
Yeah,
probably lots of other company have seen. Uh, I have seen that through some of the benchmarking report that if you have the digital capability, you will definitely have more share from that digital channel. What I've seen that customers typically when they seek agent support is when they
yeah.
have more complex situation, have a dispute or complaint, they want to talk to a live person to have more personalized assistance. And then the other scenario is that even if the self-serve digitally, they don't get all the questions answered, they still want to call the agent to talk to agent to clarify, hey, this is what I'm getting. Just want to make sure that this is how the program will work. So that's typically an indication of we are not providing enough or clear communication digitally, um, so that customers still need to make a phone call to get their
Yeah,
confirmation. Yeah.
interesting. That is super powerful, especially the one-two punch of it. Uh, this has been great. We got a couple of audience questions in, but looks like we had some technical issues on the podcast. Regardless, I think we got the recording, so hopefully that is still extremely valuable. Emily, last any kind of parting thoughts, any final words about the use of AI, about when working with vendors like us or any other vendors? How should someone what should be the takeaway for someone watching this recording later?
Yeah, I would say kind of be open-minded. I
Okay.
I really think that you know, AI adoption, I think is going to be kind of the future. I think it won't replace everything we do fundamentally within collections, because I think whatever we have talked about today is very foundational to collection and recovery business. What I see in the future is what AI can do to further augment and truly add more value to what we do, to the business and to the customer as well. So
Hmm.
I I think the future kind of is kind of exciting, kind to see how the AI will evolve in
Yeah.
the next few years. I think it's already kind of evolved pretty rapidly uh,
Yeah.
across other industry, maybe even more than kind of
Hmm.
the the collection area. So, but I strongly believe that we'll get there. I will definitely be open minded to kind of stay very close to kind of the evolution and then the capabilities, the new in the AI front. Yeah.
Awesome. Very excited about this, and thank you, Emily, for talking to us. And really appreciate your time. And have a great rest of 2026.
Likewise. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thanks so much,
Thank
Emily.
you.
Bye.
Bye.